If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, 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 blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes.
Blah,
Good vibes.
blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Grimerica.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We have got Bernie Taylor back on the show. I mean, he's been around for a while now. I think he was originally on the show maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We first stumbled upon Bernie's work. I forget what the first thing was. I think the first thing was the new saying that the ancients had a different zodiac than us, and they had all these different animals, but it was, so he had that. And then we got, actually, the very first time was probably the cave art. If I remember correctly, the pareidolia cave art, which Bernie would say is not pareidolia. It is the episode art for this show. So, bam, committed to that right there. And you can go there, and Bernie, if you could look at that while we're talking in this episode, because countless times Bernie refers to this and refers to some different animals that he sees in this picture, in this art, in this cave.
Which we have on video, right?
It is on video. If you want to head over to the YouTube channel, give us a subscribe and a like.
Is it there now, or I don't know?
I think it is, because it was live, right? Can we live stream?
No, I don't think we did. I think this was just before we started live streaming.
Interesting.
We'll make sure that
It will
video,
be
right?
there. Yeah, it will be there. So, of course, that's everybody's favorite podcaster, Graham, living the dream Dunlop. A little hot. It's a hot dream. Getting ready to go on another trip.
Yeah, I like the heat. Like I was telling you, it's weird that it gets hot in the evening. That's the hottest part of the day in Alberta. I'm used to still BC where it gets hot in the middle of the day.
And the mornings are frigid.
In Alberta?
Yeah, always.
Sometimes.
Because of the altitude. Burns off. Back home, it's 30 degrees. It's like 28 at night.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
Heat wave's a proper heat wave. Here you can never go camping around here and not have a hoodie. In the middle of August. I mean, never mind the bugs. But especially if you go out because all the best camping spots, you're probably another 2,000 feet up from here.
The bugs aren't always bad, though, are they? I mean, they're not.
Bugs are not bad right now at all. The first couple months of the year, it's no problem. Right now, there's no bugs, I don't think. I don't know. I'm going to go camping. First camping trip coming up in 2 weeks.
Where are you going?
Fishing hole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, the fishing spot to catch a bunch of fish. Is that time of year where you just catch a ton of fish.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be the same day you leave for Spokane.
For Washington Scablands with Randall Carlson. I mean, we might as well mention that now. There's a couple spots left only. It's full. It's going to be fully packed.
I thought one spot left only.
No, there's a couple left.
There you go. Contact at thecabin.com if you guys want to get in on it. Meet the fabulous Randall Carlson, Bradley Young. Both brothers of the Serpent will be there. Yeah, Graham will be there. I'll be there the last night to close things out. And it's going to be a time down there in Washington. The weather's looking good. Springtime, everything's it's like part of 3 weeks of the year where everything in that desert's a little bit greener. The flowers are blooming a little bit. The ones that do, it's kind of. I prefer the
spring
plants in the spring. Yeah, I must say. So, how you been? How's things? Are you enjoying your spring?
Well, I mean, it just feels like it just went from winter to summer. I mean, there wasn't a spring. It's just gone to summer. This is what happens. It just goes from winter to summer.
This is spring.
Well, no, it's not. It's like summer. It's just summer weather. So I'm enjoying it. It's nice to, it's nice that it's light out.
Summer's when the days are like 18 hours long.
I just got to get out there and exercise outside a little bit more instead of exercising inside. So I'll probably put the rollerblades on, do some short rollerblading around the walks.
Tell me if you do. I'll see if I can find you with the drone.
Keep your drone away from my area.
I'll see if I can find you with the drone and get some shots of you. I crashed the one drone, so I had to buy a new one. I've had my eye on the mini one anyway. It's like under the limit that you have to like be on the radar, because my old one was heavy enough. The Canadian rules, I had to have a license. It's registered. It has like an air flight number and all this crazy shit. Actually, that reminds me to give you my old one so that you could give it to Russ.
Oh, I got to bring it down. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, so he could take the batteries and salvage whatever part of the part off that he can. Right. I crashed it, and I actually was going to try and fix it, but I took it apart and I was like, holy fuck. Yeah. It doesn't look too bad. It wouldn't have been too bad, but I'd definitely get into like melting solder and resoldering and stuff like that on tiny little circuit boards, which is definitely not my specialty. I don't really have the patience for that sort of thing. So you can give it to Russ and he can at least use it as spare parts for his drone. And I got the little one. I don't have to tell no one about it. I can just fucking pop it out. It's a little smaller. Doesn't seem to affect it. Maybe it has a couple less features. Still pretty quick. I've gotten it all over to your house a couple of times, but I can't tell where it is. And it's because there's like between my place and your place is those crazy power lines. And eventually they end up killing the signal.
Really?
Yeah. And then it just ends up coming home on its own. And you see it like zzz, and comes over and lands in the yard. It's pretty amazing, actually. If I could show that to like my 10-year-old self, he would be like, "What the fuck?" With the camera on it and everything. Yeah. Could you imagine having that in the 90s?
Yeah. I remember when we used to go up to Whistler and party and stuff. My friend made a special trip to get a phone when the phones first had their cameras. So that would have been, I don't know, early 2000s or late 90s. I think it was early 2000s still. But it was really like the cameras didn't have phones for quite the while. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, getting a camera phone."
Now I can make the camera just fly around. 5 kilometers. This one goes 4 kilometers high and 10 kilometers away. But the Canadian law says it can't go above 400 meters. Okay, what do you want to get to first?
What other Canadian laws are there that you want to talk about?
I have the Canadian gun laws. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to do
something new?
Well, yeah. We got Liberals. So they, this is from the corporate media. The Liberal government is proposing
the government media, you mean? Sorry? You should correct yourself there.
The government media. CTV? Probably. Is this from now? What's the date on this? What's the date here? Oh, yeah, May 1st, 2023. That's today, right? Yep. So the Liberal government is proposing a ban on assault-style firearms that would apply once legislation comes into force. It also plans to recreate a federal firearms advisory committee that will make recommendations on the classifications of guns now in the market. After days of behind-the-scenes negotiations, Public Minister Marco
Mendocino
outlined the revamped federal approach today. So we got the Liberals withdrew a gun bill amendment in February that would have spelled out in law. So that was all those other ones. This is the wrong one again. I had a better page before. Let me go.
Are you noticing electronic glitches at all with your stuff?
No, my shoulder hurts. So, okay.
I'm having very frustrating electronic glitches lately.
That could be your nickname.
And a headache last couple days.
Really?
Which is weird. Now I got a new Shaw cable thing. I installed a new cable thing. So I'm wondering if that's like some high-powered fucking thing that's in my bedroom.
Probably 5G. So I think they're going to add like 400. Remember, they're going to add a bunch of guns to the little gun ban.
Yep.
Including the SKS, I think, was one of them. The my AR clone thing.
But you got those, so they're not going to come after them. You just can't buy them anymore after this, right?
Well, they've withdrawn that.
Okay.
And then I can't remember. I think they're limiting the magazines too. They're limiting the magazines to 5. So we used to be able to buy a 30-round magazine, and it's like it's just got a little screw in it, so it can't go past 5. And I think they're now banning those altogether.
Wow.
So now, if you want to do that, you have to. They have to like. I don't know. I guess they'll just make special little 5-shot clips. They probably exist already. I already have a bunch of the other ones, so I'm not too worried about it. And they said all the guns that we have are fine. And I'm an Indian anyway, so I'm exempt from it, I'm pretty sure. And I don't care what they say. So, but I am going to go tomorrow down to the gun shop and see if they've got any of those larger capacity magazines still kicking around.
Right. So what's the big change here then? I'm sort of not following what the big change is.
Really. I mean, the magazine thing would probably be the biggest change.
Yeah. And that they're making a committee and they're going to, it seems like they're ramping it up.
They're not stopping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all comes down sooner than later.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do, I did a little, I don't know how I got roped into this little political
quiz or something. Oh no, political quiz. I mean, is this going to get us like canceled or striked out or anything?
Alberta only.
Alberta only? What does that mean?
Well, it just sort of tells you, because we have an election coming up here in like a month, I think.
Okay.
So it kind of just tells you where you align politically.
Okay.
And you know what? I think I seen it on Twitter. I seen someone had it on Twitter and I copied theirs. So, I could probably just share the screen. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and I just showed where they lie. It's like the grid, obviously, with the left and the right. But
there's 6 parties? There's 6 people?
Yeah, this is Daniel Smith, UCP, Notley, NDP. Don't know, Liberal, Wild Rose, Greens. I don't know who this is. I think they're pretty far right.
But it's really mainly like NDP and conservatives.
What's your postal code?
What? I'm not going to say that here. Just can't use yours.
Oh.
Okay, 0. Yeah, go back. 0. No, keep going. Yeah. 0A6.
All right. This is it. This is you. Okay.
Do I have to do this though? No.
So sometimes freedom is so it's all the same question. Okay, so it's either going to be sometimes freedom of speech has to be limited, and every time it's going to be strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, neutral, somewhat agree, strongly agree. Or
it's not freedom of speech if it's limited. I don't get it. It's a stupid question.
I don't need an explanation.
Okay, I disagree strongly.
Disagree? Strongly disagree?
Yeah.
People who use illegal drugs should have access to supervised consumption sites.
I don't know, dude. I mean, these are all complex.
I'll tell you what,
complex questions.
I'm
going to put neutral.
Strongly disagree.
Okay, I'm going to put somewhat disagree. Oh, too late.
Go back. Somewhat disagree.
No. Go back.
Okay.
Neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a complex thing. Yeah.
I strongly disagree that tax dollars should be used on junkies, unless it's getting them off the streets.
That's what I'm getting at. There's some conditions that have to be go along with that.
The cost of maintaining Alberta's park should be paid for. When I was doing drugs, when I was, using, I knew that getting busted was part of the thing. You know what I mean? We were scared of the cops.
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
But
I told the cop
but that fucks you up too, though. That fucked me up too, though. I had a lot of guilt and shame over that, right?
Did I tell you I pulled a cop over downtown the other day?
You pulled a cop over?
Yes.
Why?
Really. I just pulled him up beside him at the light and made him roll down his window. Well, because there's I'm walking around downtown and there's a kid's daycare center there. And it's on the second floor. There's kids running around playing. And right underneath that, dude, there's a bunch of people smoking crack straight up out in the street. Bunch of them just smoking crack straight up. And the cop's just this cop, I'm behind this cop and he just drives by and he's looking at him. And I'm just whatever. And then we go around the next corner and we have to stop driving down the street downtown, 12th Ave. We have to stop. Well, a couple other zombies, you know the people that are so far gone that they're just total fucking zombies, like Walking Dead, just wandering out into the street. So that me and the cop are stopping while they just wander across the road and wander off to, I don't know, maybe stab somebody. But and then I was just huh. So I pulled up beside him on light and I was like, what do you guys do? What do you do? He's like, not much. So that was it. And I drove off.
What do you do?
I made the comment that I said, it's like the fucking Walking Dead out here. What the fuck? It's we just walked by a couple of fucking crackheads. It's just you're fine with it. So people start getting fucked up, People's shit gets stolen. It's fine for people's stuff to get stolen.
It's not fine. The crime doesn't seem to matter either. This is the problem. I tried to report these crimes when my bike got stolen and stuff like that, and it's ridiculous. They don't want to do anything. They don't do anything. I know cops. I have a friend who says they just go to, they let him out, they let him off right away, and they go to another neighborhood and do the same thing.
Now they're not even bothering to pull him over. And you know what? It's not even that really fucking bugs me. It's but they're just fucking keep hammering me with speeding tickets and shit. You know what I mean? Or these little
or park fees,
fucking parking tickets and this and that. And it's just fuck you, motherfuckers. Anyway, he didn't have much to say.
All right. So let's do the next one, which is about park fees.
Okay. The cost of maintaining Alberta's park should be paid for by user fees rather than tax dollars.
Again, it's too, are you telling me that my taxes are actually going to get reduced? I don't trust that they're going to institute fees and then the taxes are going to go up. I mean, this is this is a stupid question. I don't trust any of it. Neutral.
I strongly disagree.
Because hang on, go back.
My thing is, you're not getting any more money. You figure it out with what you fucking got.
Somewhat disagree. Public schools.
That's not to say I'm going to give you more money. You're not getting any more money. It's you've got the money you got, and it's more than enough. Quit wasting it and figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. Private schools should be eligible for public funding. I don't even understand that question.
Well, I mean, it's an oxymoron.
Where do the private schools get their money from now? The people that go there?
Well, yeah, that would be the tuition.
Well, why would they be eligible for public funding? I don't understand. What is this a big controversy that's happening?
I don't know. Just answer the question.
Neutral.
Alberta should use windfall resource revenues to pay down its debt rather than restore funding for public services.
We have windfall resource revenues. I mean,
well, yeah, they did. Didn't you sign up for the thing? Oh, dude, if you sign up, they've been sending me $100 a month. I'm a socialist. Actually, I just signed up for it because if they're giving fucking money away after all the money they're taking from me, I'm going to claw back whatever I can. It was Instagram ad that got me. If you did your taxes last year.
So to pay down its debt rather than restore funding for public services. Restore funding. So the funding got taken away for public services. I can't do this.
Come on.
Neutral. I don't know. I mean,
I would strongly disagree. Was my take because Or no, I strongly agree. I think they should pay the debt down instead of having any public services. Fucking cancel them all. Albertans under 18 of age should have a lower minimum wage than adults.
I don't know. What did you say for this one?
Kids have their own, should you be able to pay 60?
Well, what is it right now?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't know.
What do you just put don't know on this one. Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
How much should university students have to pay for their education?
Oh my God.
Somewhat less.
Same as now.
People with severe and incurable
because this is Canada, not the States. The universities are different, right? They're not so expensive here.
They're pretty expensive, but still.
Are they? Okay.
People with severe, and the government shouldn't be involved in it, is my take on it. So people with severe and incurable mental illness should be able to request a medically assisted death. Severe and incurable mental illness.
Somewhat disagree.
The Alberta government should restrict unvaccinated individuals from entering non-essential public spaces during a public health emergency.
Strongly disagree. I mean, wow. I can't believe that's even in there. How much should Alberta do to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions? Much less.
That's what I picked too.
Fuck.
No law-abiding Alberta should be prohibited from owning a gun.
Strongly agree. Yeah.
I wonder if you had said that 10 years ago when we started the show. Is it our anniversary today? No, not for another month, right?
Oh, yeah.
Should the wealthier people pay more taxes?
No, how much should the wealthier people pay in taxes?
All right. How much should the wealthier people pay?
That's what you put for this one?
I said same as now.
It's just, yeah, same as now. It's just not, there's too much, there's too many other things. These are not fair questions, really.
Yeah. Alberta pays more than its share to support the rest of the country.
Strongly agree.
How much of a role should the private sector have in healthcare? Less, more, the same?
Much more.
That's what I said too. The Alberta government should limit how much landlords can increase the rent they charge tenants.
Strongly agree.
I strongly disagreed. So we differ on. Federal government policies are more to blame for the rising cost of living than its price gouging by corporations. And here's the reason I went to strongly disagree is because I know some people who just renewed their mortgage and just got hammered with $600. What if that was a rental property? I mean, you could argue that they have the rental property, so that's their problem, and they're in the upper class or whatever. But
you just have to have protection from the tenants so that it doesn't just escalate super high. Like that's the problem.
I feel you, dog.
So this one, blame the rising cost of living. Federal, yeah, I'd say
Okay, let's read the question here because this is important, the wording. Federal government policies are more to blame for the rising cost of living than its price gouging by big corporations.
Yeah. I mean, the government's at the heart of all of it. Strongly agree. What'd you say?
I strongly agreed because I think that printing money is at the heart of the problem. And carbon tax. The Alberta government should permit new coal mining projects on the eastern slopes of the Rockies.
Agree.
Somewhat or strongly?
Strongly.
I also picked that. The environmental damage caused by the oil sands industry is exaggerated.
I somewhat agree. Did you strongly agree?
I should have done the whole thing in...
The Alberta government use its budget surplus to reduce personal income taxes rather than expand public services.
I think this has already been a question.
This is a no-brainer.
Reduce personal income taxes, please. Strongly agree.
It's an easy one. Indigenous
I
community.
was too caught off guard by the voice.
This would be a curious one for you.
Indigenous communities in Alberta should have a veto over natural resource development projects in the province.
Will you try to appease your Indian co-host?
Yeah, I somewhat agree to that.
I strongly disagree. If it's on Indian land, fine. If it's not, then
Oh,
not.
isn't that what it means?
It doesn't seem like it says in the province.
Oh.
How high should the minimum wage be? Much lower, somewhat lower, same as now, somewhat higher, much higher.
Somewhat higher.
Commie. Routine
Oh
vaccination.
my God. Strongly
should be
disagree.
mandatory.
Strongly disagree.
Alberta should take a tougher stance in dealing with the federal government.
Strongly agree.
Schools should always inform parents if their child uses different gender pronouns in the classroom than they do at home.
Strongly agree. I mean,
People possessing, here's another one we're probably going to differ. People possessing a small amount of illegal drugs for personal consumption should not face criminal charges.
yeah, I strongly agree.
I disagreed.
Did you? Why?
Because fucking people are getting stabbed outside of coffee shops.
Yeah, but that's not because of possession. I mean,
it's not
this is
fucking helping. It ain't helping.
it. Did you know Vancouver? I saw it. Now I haven't fact checked this or not, but apparently BC had its worst overdose. They broke their overdose monthly record, like right after they legalized cocaine or whatever.
That's
Remember
what I mean, this light-handed approach isn't working.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't. Yeah, but yeah, I'm. That's another complex one. I agree with you that it's not working, but it wasn't working either before.
The Alberta government should be able to override federal policies it deems harmful to Albertans.
Yeah, I agree. Strongly agree.
The Alberta government should intervene to try and bring down housing prices in the province.
No, they shouldn't intervene in any of this. Strongly disagree. What'd you put?
I also did that. How much land in Alberta should be turned over to Indigenous peoples?
What'd you put?
I put somewhat more.
Yeah, that's what I was going to put. Yeah.
No one should be prohibited from giving, and that would be government land, not
Private land, right.
No one should be prohibited from giving a speech at a university because of their political views.
Strongly agree.
Alberta should have its own provincial police force in place of the RCMP.
Somewhat agree. Kind of scared. The OPP kind of sucks, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Question of the day. Question of the day. Do you think that young Albertans today will be better or worse off than their parents?
Worse.
I said, I think my kids will be much better off. So I just went with my kids.
Yeah, somewhat. They're talking about Albertans in general.
How important does this election feel to you?
Not very important.
This has been, would you say that Alberta is moving in the right direction or the wrong direction?
Right.
We'll just skip all this.
Why? What is that stuff?
This is just like all like, we could probably see what that one party's called for.
Alberta Party, it looks like.
The Alberta Party, yeah. I could probably get into the Alberta Party. These are like all the individual people. We'll skip all that so we can get to your results. Skip this. Calculating Graham's results. And then we'll compare it to mine. You are... Oh, we're very close. I'm almost directly on top of UCP. I'm like hovering I'm a little right.
Well, so where am I? Well, where am I? Oh, I see. There's me. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So what we've got here is we've got what's it called? It's basically the cross
scatter map, maybe, or something.
That's a scatter map over crosshairs. and the one crosshair, the horizontal crosshair is social.
Or quadrant, maybe. Maybe it's called a quadrant map or something.
Yeah, so the south quadrant is conservative socially, and the north quadrant is progressive socially. Economic left is the left, obviously. Economically right is the right, obviously. And Graham is a half a square off. So he's like liberal, just almost liberal NDP economically. And
oh, I see. Yeah.
but very socially conservative, which is, the opposite of what I would have thought you would have been when we started the show.
Yeah.
I would have thought you were very socially liberal.
Progressive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't really remember answering a lot to the social, like what would make me more socially progressive in this.
Just all the Indian stuff, I suppose.
Well, it's just so weird. I guess it's when you're sort of more of the freedom libertarian thing, like it just.
But you do agree with these two parties as well. So you agree with the far right, what we would call our far right party,
the Wild Rose Independent Party of Alberta.
Yeah, I could get into that, but I think the UCP's got to be it, right? I don't know. Anyway, I'm like a little right of you, so I'm exactly where you are socially.
Yeah.
A little more right economically.
Yeah. But those are pretty tough questions because it really depends on a bunch of factors. It's hard to just answer. But I do like that exercise. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I figured it would give people kind of a little take on where you're at,
Yeah.
Where Graham's at.
But I mean, my answer I got a text from somebody asking who I'd vote for, and my answer was like, I'm completely disillusioned with the whole system, and I have no trust in any of the politicians right now.
I don't trust any of them either, but I'm gonna vote for Danielle just because she's in there. In a few months she's been in there, she's done a few things that have earned me to go across the street. It's not hard for us to vote here.
Oh yeah, she's saying the right things. I just don't have.
And she's done the right things in a couple aspects. She's blocked the federal government from being able to come and get my guns. That's a big plus. I got some hollow points today, and I ordered a new gun safe, and it's a fingerprint one, so I can just pops open. There's my handgun. Also, do you need a smoker?
Do I need one?
You want one?
I don't know.
I got a new one. I got a propane one instead of an electric one. So I have my electric one. I might put on Kijiji unless you want to get into smoking some
No,
weed.
I don't think so. No.
You'd use a hobby.
I've got the
not a hobby, it's work.
I'm living the dream.
Are you? You seem grumpy.
Well, I had a bad day. I mean, I keep trying to come back and tell myself I'm living the dream. Snap out of it. It's weird because you got to do everything, right? Like everything. Fix my computer. Fix this. Fix that. Do the emails, the marketing. Like it's just everything is part of the job, right? So, it's great in a lot of ways, but it also doesn't feel productive sometimes because you're just going through all the things you need to do, right? Answer emails, answer this, answer that, and it's just like. So it just doesn't feel productive. Like I like to feel like I'm adding value, right? What?
Summer though, spring. We should have barbecue. We should get John all down here.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Oh, before I forget, I want to mention something. Bernie sent me something. He thinks he might have made an actual a mistake reading the quote, and the Amish Inquisition got the drop on us on this because we hung out. We had too many episodes in the can, so we hung on to this. So congrats to the Amish Inquisition. We'll see them one day at Contact of the Castle. So he might have misread a line during our session that about Durham University archaeologist Petit wrote. The actual text is, I have no reason not to quote your publication in the future. You are welcome to delete that. Yeah, so he didn't acknowledge priority to publication these 3 months later, so his words were misleading at best. I just wanted to make sure that he didn't make a mistake. So, yeah, this is an interesting episode because it's really showing how academia just sort of takes credit for stuff when they know they weren't the first ones to discover things, and they just don't want to engage or give credit where credit's due. So.
It's the profound quote of the week. Darren, can you guess it? It's the profound quote of the week. Can you guess the human who spoke
It did say a quote, right? I can't hear you, motherfucker. You're muted.
Tell me where this quote lands politically, then, because this is a quote. This is regarding the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This might get us in trouble, but I won't say who wrote it until the very end. I'll get you just in case you know who it is. UN is an unelected. So this is a reply when asked how her company was going to meet the UN SDGs. Okay. I just sometimes I come across these things. I'm like, this is so well written in a way. I got to read it on the show. UN is an unelected, unaccountable organization whose pronouncements have no bearing on our company's bylaws, management principles, and corporate governance. We resent the implication that they do. We do not support UN's Sustainable Development Goals and related ideology, as we believe it is vague, self-contradictory, unimplementable, and overall damaging framework designed to promote the interests of wealthy and powerful individuals and corporations at the expense of the working people globally. Sustainability is a purposefully undefined but pleasantly sounding nonsense. The 17 goals made up by overpaid bureaucrats are designed to obfuscate the reality. The monopolizing of control over the world's resources and subjugation of the people who never consented to be governed in this manner. As an example of absurdity, the core of the SDG program for development and poverty reduction relies on industrial growth, ever-increasing levels of extraction, production, and consumption. Goal 8 calls for 7% annual GDP growth in the least developed countries and higher levels of economic productivity across the board, calling for less and more at the same time. The most recent example of SDG in action is the devastating collapse of the entire country of Sri Lanka, precipitated by capricious sustainability burdens, such as bans on fertilizer and ban on non-organic farming, which led to widespread hardship and civil unrest. It's funny, I just watched a video about that today, too. Upcoming guest on Grimerica Outlawed, Matt Arrett. I had a synchronicity with him too. I was watching that video, and I had this sense I'm like, Matt's going to be on the Union of the Unwanted tonight, and so I went on the Union of Unwanted, and Matt was there. I'm like, what the fuck? I totally had this weird synchronicity. I just knew he was going to be there. Where am I? Widespread protests of farmers are currently ongoing in the Netherlands and other European countries. The hardworking people are pushed to the brink of despair by the SDG-inspired green nonsense, while UN's corporate sponsors like Bill Gates are simultaneously purchasing all arable land in sight. Sustainable water agenda comes with Nestle's sponsorship, which aims to have all fresh water on Earth owned by corporations. Health goals are sponsored by the global pharmaceutical companies, and unsurprisingly aim at increasing government purchase of drugs, elimination of individual health choices, and informed consent, as already demonstrated by the global COVID-19 policies to date. In summary, we do not support UN and its Agenda 2030. We think nobody should. Collectivist utopias have led to devastation, both human and environmental, every single time they were attempted. And UN's SDG is yet another attempt. We strongly believe in the individual rights to free thought, expression, and self-determination, as only truly free individuals can build a trust, moral, non-fraudulent society for common good. That's it.
Georgia Maloney?
That was from a Telegram channel, Laura Abilene channel. I think she's a Canadian journalist or media personality. but it was from Alexandra Latipova. I think she's an ex-pharma.
Spy?
Yeah, she's an ex-pharma, like high up in pharma. And she's kind of like blowing the whistle. I think I follow her on Substack now or something. That's the same one. Fantastic work.
Fantastic work. If you think we're doing fantastic work, head over to Grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for monthly and make a one-time donation. You know, less and less people wanting to support the value for value model for would seem these days, unless maybe the show's not so valuable. Let us know if there's something we're doing wrong or something we got to do better. If you're broke. If you're not, head over to Grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation, guys. It's super important. Makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside because we get to eat. Other than that, you get the audiobooks, adultbrain.ca, GrimericaOutlaw.ca for the other podcast. Like we said, we had the Rattle trip coming up. We have another trip in the fall. We have the Canadian Hot Spring Adventure in November.
That'll be a good one. That'll be nice not to have to border travel for us.
Not to mention Eclipse tickets coming on right away for our first crack at a festival. So all that stuff, contact at Cabin.com, get over there, sign up for the newsletter. You'll be the first people to get those Eclipse tickets if you want them. It's going to be a time. I mean, we're starting to have some the final meetings for it, and it's shaping up to be quite the party. I think that's about it. We'll leave it at that. Enjoy the chat, guys, with the fabulous Bernie Taylor. Do you have a bio?
I do. He's a naturalist, an author, an archaeoastronomer whose research explores the origins of mankind's creativity and awareness of the natural world. His works in these areas include Biological Time from 2004 and Before Orion, Finding the Face of the Hero in 2017, which explore a deep root to mankind's creative capacity by looking at how hunter-gatherers viewed themselves through Paleolithic cave art to 40,000 years ago. He proposes that select cave paintings are fundamental pieces in the human journey to self-realization, the foundation of astronomy, and a record of biological knowledge that irrevocably impacted some of the artistic styles, religious practices, and stories that are still with us. Of course, he's widely interviewed on podcasts and interactive programs, and he gives engaging talks at popular conferences and academic symposiums across social and physical science disciplines.
He's an engaging fella. Enjoy the chat. Bernie Taylor.
Welcome back to Grimerica, Bernie Taylor. How's it going?
Graham and Darren, this is a great day.
It is a great day.
Today, we're going to speak truth to power.
Right on. Yeah, you've been sort of, tied up in some, interesting controversies with your work. So we're looking forward to talking about this.
Absolutely. And the story starts with you guys. Do you know that, right?
No, we didn't.
I sent you an email March 18th, 2022, and I said, to the Canadian elk hunters, I wrote the attached paper for a European archaeology journal on how to use BC Thompson Indian calendars to understand cave art in the Upper Paleolithic, and it might help you with your elk hunting. You guys vaguely remember that? And then we had a whole session about it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, we had a whole session about that, and I sent you the paper, and you put the session. You put like a teaser on YouTube, and you put the rest of it on Roku. Okay, and that paper was from a a European archaeology journal. Just say wow. 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 Okay.
Wow. And I should mention those are both that is on YouTube now. It's on
YouTube, the whole thing?
YouTube channels. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So it's from Journal Prehistoria, French and English. And there's the paper I sent you. Okay. And it was published in the 2021 Journal of Prehistoria. Boom. Okay. If you heard that. And so we had our session, and afterwards I sent Darren an Ojibwa lunar calendar because this is a worldwide phenomenon. And Darren responded back, "That was so cool. I've learned so much, and it brings back my native roots." So that was a year ago. Okay, that was just over a year ago. And early January of this year, I got an email it was like Tuesday, Wednesday night, just before going to bed from an archaeologist who's been following my work for years. And he sends me this email it's a news story that comes out of the UK from one of the major outlets. And it reads just like what I presented to you guys a year ago. And it reads just like the journal article. And it reads back the same stuff going back to 2004. And news, and this is traces back to Durham University, archaeologist there named Paul Petit, Pettitt. So make sure you guys put that in your notes, that the actual name, so people can find it, including Paul. And so new study reveals evidence of early age writing and what it meant. Oh, that sounds big. And inside, until now, archaeologists have known that these sequences of lines and dots and other marks found on cave walls and portable objects from the last ice age were storing some kind of information, but did not know their specific meaning. So you guys, we had a session for about an hour last year. Did we talk about anything related to specific meanings of marks in ice and cave art?
Yeah, I think it was all those red dots, right?
It's all the red dots. We told the black dots. We do all kinds of stuff. We talked about the timing of the elk, the deer, the horses,
lunar cycles, right?
The lunar cycle, the whole shebang. We talked about that, and that's what. So we talked about. So is it possible? Could this be true? Now this is important. We're gonna have so Darren is going to be the test of truth. We have to have a scale, right? Have to have a scale, 1 to 10. 1 is give the guy a break. Okay, got that, Darren? 1. 5 is just an ass sometimes, and 10 is irredeemable. So 1 to 10, give the guy a break. 5, just an ass sometimes, or irredeemable. Okay. So is it possible that these guys discovered, based on your experience a year ago on this program, is it possible that these guys could have found the specific meaning of Ice Age art that nobody knew before?
No.
Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Darren, is it possible that they actually talk about the same stuff we talked about? Okay. So the answer, is it give the guy a break, just an ass sometimes, or the guy is irredeemable?
9.
You give him 9. That's fair. Yeah.
I say 6 or 7, maybe 7, 8.
Yeah, but
that's right, because you don't know yet, because we don't have a trend, right? We don't know what the guy's saying, right?
I just assume everything right out of the gate: gender, sexuality, and ass limits.
Okay, got it. Okay, so can you guys pop into your YouTube? Can you pop into your YouTube?
I will do that.
Pop into your YouTube. So we're going to test if anybody could have known about this. Prior to January of this year, when these guys released their major paper that they think they're going to get Nobel Prizes for.
And but isn't it based on your earlier work too, though?
Oh, we're going to go there. We got places to go. We're traveling today. We're traveling in time. So in YouTube, type in lunar timekeeping as 2 separate, lunar and then timekeeping as 1 word.
Lunar? Or maybe I should do this while I'm doing this.
Because we're doing a background check. Could these guys
lunar timekeeping? Okay.
Timekeeping, 1 word, yeah.
1 word. Could these guys have found earlier evidence of this? Oh my God! What do you see? You see you see a presentation I gave 7 months ago, and you can see the Grimerica, 1.1 thousand views 10 months ago. So it doesn't take rocket science to figure out what this guy has been doing. You can go down, you find more of my stuff. And so we're going to do another search. Okay. We're going to type another one. We're going to type in lunar Paleolithic, because maybe the guys, they didn't know timekeeping, right? But they should know Paleolithic because it's Upper Paleolithic cave art. So type in lunar Paleolithic.
Okay, mine.
Lunar Paleolithic.
Okay.
Go down a little bit. And there you go. Lunar time and Ice Age art, Bernie Taylor before Orion.com. So how tough was it to find that?
Not very hard.
Not very hard at all. You kind of wonder, right? So type in another one. Type in Bernie Taylor, Ifa Maui, IFAMAUI.
IMFA.
IFA.
IFA. Okay.
MAUI. Yeah, that's okay. That should work. Okay. So the third, so actually these are 3 presentations I gave at IFA Maui. IFA is University of Hawaii. These are the guys that track killer asteroids, comets, and meteorites. Serious stuff. And I gave presentations of 3 times. One was virtual, and I had the fortune of actually being in the war room to track these killer objects and seeing how the whole thing works. So if you look at that one, that was 3. The one for Are We Alone in the Cosmos? Biological Time and the Drake Equation, which is my stuff. 5.8 thousand views 3 years ago. That is almost the exact same presentation that I gave you guys. Sorry that you didn't have an original work, but you had the same work that people who track killer meteorites were studying. So go back to about 3 years. It's out there. It's been there. So here's another one. Jump into academia.edu. Academia.edu. This is where academics they post their papers, kind of thing.
So that's academia, I think.
Academia.edu.
Okay.
Okay. Type in lunar timekeeping.
Do I have to sign up?
No, you don't have to sign up.
Where do I type it in then?
Well, actually, don't you do? Just Google academia.edu lunar timekeeping. Yeah. Actually, you don't want to do that. You might have to sign up, and you guys. Okay, so I'm going to tell you if you type in lunar timekeeping at the top of that, you will find the same paper that I sent you guys originally in Prehistoria. There you go. For the purpose of kind of getting you guys interested in the topic. Okay. So there you are. Now you're in Academia U. You can see the top. Was it the first one at the top of the list when you typed in lunar timekeeping?
Yes, it was the very top. Yep.
And that was many moons ago. So if you go down there, you actually find other ones. You'll find biological time and the Drake equation that I did at IFA Maui, and that dates back to 2019 on Academia U. So I put it off of the PDF and I dropped it into Academia U. So there we go. So you can find this stuff pretty easily. So let's type in another one, lunar Paleolithic, just like we did on YouTube. Lunar Paleolithic. So you didn't have. My point is, you don't have to know the exact timekeeping to actually figure that out. And so lunar Paleolithic is going to be your search in academia.edu. And this is free for everybody out there in podcast land. You can look the papers and.
That's the same one I was just on, isn't it?
And there you go. So using different lunar Paleolithic, which would be the most obvious keywords, correct? For this, right? It's time is place.
And there it is.
And again. There you go. Top of the list. Lo and behold. So somebody tells you that they couldn't find this. Would you just give them a 1? Give the guy a break, 5, just an ass sometimes, or 10, irredeemable?
8, 7, 8.
7, 8. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. We got to give the guy some credit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do this one. You guys don't have to Google it, But if there's Wikipedia, guys. Happy about sometimes, not so happy other times, right? Okay, we're good. But there's also Wikimedia Commons, is where the images come for Wikipedia. Okay. So you guys can drop your artwork into Wikimedia Commons, and other people will access to put it on Wikipedia. It's a backdoor into Wikipedia without having an article. Okay. So Wikimedia Commons, I printed it off, has an image or two images together that actually showed in the presentation with you guys. So 2014, after a presentation, I uploaded Wikimedia Commons. Okay. So we can date the stuff online, Wikimedia Commons. A Wikipedia page called Prehistoric Religions, picked it up. And the same image, and they put it on their Prehistoric Religion page. Okay. So there it is. So we can actually find the same work I showed you guys, and the same work that's published in that prehistory paper, going back to 2014 on Wikipedia. Okay. So if someone tells you, give the guy a break, one, just an ass sometimes, or irredeemable, where are we? Someone says they never saw it. We're up to a 9. Darren's at a 9. Where are you, Graham?
Well, yeah, I mean, 8, 9, I guess.
So we're moving.
I'm glad you're not showing that it's just like he didn't search YouTube or something like that. Like, this is all over. It's all over the place. So it's getting, my tolerance level is kind of getting up there.
He had it on Wikipedia as well. Got it. So I called these guys out on the night that I saw that the press release, particularly, and the news article from the UK that an archaeologist sent to me. By the way, that archaeologist who sent it to me said I should sue them for defamation of character, intellectual property rights.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He says, don't let this go. Don't let this go. And but I've decided not to sue them. And so he said, so we're going back and forth. And there's an email conversation with the editor of the journal, bunch of these people in the room who are named on this paper. And the response back from Paul Petit, remember Paul, Pettitt, archaeologist, Durham University. Okay. So having worked through Taylor's 21 paper, I now realize I should have saved myself the effort. Okay. Okay. So what he's saying, actually, Darren, so I now realize that I've saved myself the effort in basically writing his paper. I'm not going to put words into his mouth. So is he saying that if he's saying he could have saved himself the effort by reading my paper, does that mean that we wrote the same thing?
Yes.
That's how I would take it. Yeah.
Darn right you would. Yeah. Okay. But and then he says he'll sign off. I'm signing off, and I'll bang my head repeatedly against the wall in a darkened room. Okay. So based on that one, guys, do we give the guy a break? Do we 5 just an ass sometimes, or is he redeemable?
I'll bring him down to a 5.
You bring him down to a 5. Exactly. And that's fair based on what he wrote in that moment. By the way, I think he was drunk, but just, that's just what I was thinking. So we go through, we travel along this path, and we're going back and forth. I'm saying, guys, that's BS. And then we go to that. He says, I've no reason to quote your publication in another email. We're going back and forth. So I'm saying bullshit. And that you could have seen it because it's in all these places, and including we're Facebook friends. And I posted this stuff all over Facebook. So if we're Facebook friends, and many, many thousands of people had seen this on Facebook, this subject, do we give the guy a break? Is he just an ass sometimes, or he's irredeemable? Because we're Facebook friends.
Yeah, so it goes back up. I mean,
7.
Okay. Graham, question.
Well, it goes back up to 7.
It goes up again, yeah.
Because it's a pretty, and the reason why this is so important is because it's a pretty important article, right? I mean, this is coming from Archaeology News, and it's talking about this evidence of early Ice Age writing and what it meant, right? It's sophisticated information sharing, visual paleopsychology. I mean, and they're just not crediting it, right?
They're not crediting, exactly. And so in another email, okay, actually going back to something, he says, I have no reason to quote your publication in the future. So he knew about my previous work. And he says in this, I have no reason to, I can underline it. Okay, I'm underlined. Okay, I have no reason to quote your publication in the future. So based on that, do we give the guy a break? Just an ass sometimes, or is irredeemable?
Back up to a 9.
Back up to a 9. Because there's something called academic or scientific integrity. And we both know it doesn't always work that way, okay? And it certainly doesn't work in this way. He's obligated to show the source information. He has no right to go to the world and say, we've discovered this great whatever, while not citing information that he should have seen, and actually he did see.
Yeah, that's the key.
So that's the key. Could he have seen it? Could he have seen the thing? And by the way, this is off of his paper. They say they saw thousands. They looked at thousands of images, but they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in this paper here, and 2 of them were presented to you in the program last year. Okay, so if he's got thousands of images, how come he comes up with the ones that overlap? Yeah, kinds of question mark that one, right? Okay, and what they say is their hypothesis. They hypothesize that the sequences, the marks, are conveying information about their associated animal taxa in units of months. In other words, they present ethological information as the seasonal calendar. So is that their hypothesis? Darren?
No.
No, it's not. Graham?
Yes.
It's their hypothesis. Well, they're saying it's their hypothesis, but is it really their hypothesis?
No.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Okay. So they also have this other one in here. They say that many of its animals are associated with signs. For example, among its rows of swimming red deer, usually interpreted as an autumn migration scene. And one stag is marked with 7 dots. We actually talked about that one for about 5 minutes, and we talked about it in relation to Darren's Rocky Mountain elk hunting and when the animals will be there for the rut. So we actually talked about that concept. So, and that's also that wording comes almost identically off of Wikipedia and Wikimedia. It's almost identical, maybe 1 or 2 words off. Okay, so I call these guys out and I say, bullshit. That's not too strong for your program, right? Okay, call it out there. And I said that what this archaeologist did was these guys can BS in the bar room all wrong about what they discovered, and they could say they reinvented everything that Einstein discovered. But the point that they went to become a publication, they went to the publication of the journal, they signed a release, and that release said that everything is hunky dory, everything. All the I's are dotted and the T's are checked, and this is our original work. We've checked everything. That's what that says. And so at that point, that becomes a legal contractual document. And then they put the burden onto the journal. Now, I pointed out these guys didn't make any discoveries. Okay, and I point out that they should have called out to the journal. Actually, they should have basically included my work. So then we go to the question of, do we have any other evidence that these guys could have known about this? It's sort of like in the Donald Trump thing, with any of his cases. Is there anybody from the outside has, in that time and place, said to him, "You're doing a legal thing"? That's the question. Did they know about this? And so there is an email came to me a few days after their discovery. A hypothesis was announced, and we can't say the name. We've agreed not to say the name of the organization or the name of the person. But Graham, you validate that this is this is a major media organization, and this is the person that is of responsibility, correct?
Yep.
Okay, it's the real deal. This guy's it's a big deal. So he's contacted me because I'm a fan of Biological Time since 2004, and he says he goes on.
So before you do that, let's just say Biological Time was your book in 2004, right?
Oh, yeah. So actually, that's good. Good point. We step back. Okay. 2004, I published Biological Time. The year after that, Wiley, an academic publisher, picked it up and they reprinted it. And it was actually an imprint of Wiley in the Far East, which was cool for me. And there's maybe 5 or 6 word changes in the whole thing between that. 2006 and 2007, I had 2 papers published in an astronomy journal called the Griffith Observer. The Griffith Observer is out of Los Angeles, and they remember the James Dean scene when he's like he's up in an observatory, he's running away or fighting with something. That's the Griffith Observatory. Major astronomical presence. And so we can go 2004 biological time, reprinted 2005, papers published in the peer-reviewed literature, 2006, 2007, and before Orion published in 2017. And then since then, it's been, and then 2011, 2021 with the Prehistoria European Archaeology Journal. Okay, so this guy he has 2 copies of Biological Time, and he read them, and he said that Paul Petit's team, he met with them or contacted them somehow Zoom, and the team wants to do a documentary for his organization, and he told the team about my work, Bernie's work, your work, and was very surprised that they hadn't heard of it. Okay. And I think their current paper would have been stronger if they had gone into more detail about ethnographically attested lunar counting. Okay. So he sent me on January 10th. So we're saying January the previous year, these guys knew 100% about my book, Biological Time, or before Orion, one of the two. It doesn't matter either way. And so either way, we have an independent third source that we can't disclose, and because he's not part of the story, and individually. And what most important he told them is that you need to put ethnographic information in this, which is basically what my whole thing was about. We brought in the indigenous people from North America and Siberia, and I said that I didn't discover anything. So I'm not saying I discovered anything. I'm saying that this has recent ethnographic recorded and current use among Native Americans. So if you're going from 17,000 years ago to Native Americans came over 20,000 years ago, however you look at it, it's the same information that they're currently using. You can't discover it. You absolutely can't discover that. Okay. And I sent Darren the Ojibwa calendar. And so it's the same information. And so then we got that one. So that's the storyline that goes on from here is that I call out the journal did their investigation, and their issue was that if they had sided with me, they're immediately fined by the magistrate £50,000 for violating intellectual property rights. And I get it; they're not at fault. I have no qualms with the journal, okay, because they were misled. So I pushed it back to the university and all the way up to the chancellor's office. Actually, the chancellor's office without the chancellor, who was Fiona Hill, remember from Ukraine Trump days, Fiona Hill. So she never saw it, but her whole office. And they basically said we side with the journal. But my question with what I posed to the university was not the intellectual property right, but I posed that he should fess up that he stole it from indigenous peoples. And he didn't credit it. And he knew about it because he knew about my work, and he knew about it because this other media organization told him that was the case. And so where do we stand on this? Where do we stand on this archaeologist at the moment? So final answer, okay? We're going to move on to other stuff. Give the guy a break at 1, just an asshole sometimes, or 10 irredeemable.
I'm still at like 8, 9.
You're at 8, 9, Darren?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm also still at, I would say I'm at my original 9.
My problem with it is, wouldn't you just, like, if you did that and the guy, even if he knew, he was like, okay, he's going to leave these references out for your work, the indigenous, all this other stuff. If you get confronted, wouldn't you just say, okay, sorry, it was a mistake. Like, can't I apologize and give references to it? Like, why is that so hard?
Yes, that's the problem. Because she's arrogant.
Or does that mean that they have to get fined because they did it wrong? Like, is that acknowledging something that they can't acknowledge to the journal? Or
they could have, in the following issue of the journal, they could have put an acknowledgement, right, and an apology. Yeah. And everybody went free and clear. But yes. So their position, this is their position, is that they did not have to cite my books. He said, he first said, well, if I had read your paper, blank, 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 I wouldn't have wrote mine. But he says, I didn't have to write your books because they're popular works. That's important. So they weren't in the archaeological journal sphere. Therefore, he doesn't have to cite them. Well, that's complete bogus, because that's intellectual arrogance. And so that's total bullshit. So here's what happens after this. So I saw in a few places online. I saw that this great discovery, blank, 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 and I put it out there in my paper. Well, within a week, maybe 2 weeks, over 1,000 academics had gone to my academia edu page and read that paper. That's like 1,000 people reading a paper in a week or two on academia is like you guys getting 100,000 views on your YouTube channel for one episode. It's like a lot, right? Okay, it's like a huge amount, maybe even 500,000. Yeah, it's a huge amount. So what they did was they retweeted it on Facebook and retweeted it. They put it out there that archaeologist should have cited my work. And these are major players in the field. Major players, tens of thousands of YouTube followers types. So it turned out it was British and French anthropologists and archaeologists that called these guys out. But even the best part of it was that all the evidence that I gave in terms of the cave art was at the Lascaux Cave in France. And the French are pretty guarded about their stuff. It's just who they are. And, it's just what it is, right? Well, a French anthropologist, major anthropologist, said that Bernie was right. They should have cited him. And you guys were wrong. You guys were not only wrong for not citing his work, but by not incorporating his work because you screwed up on all this other stuff. And so it turned the tides on French anthropology, archaeology, saying, the guy's right. Let's go with this. And it turned a bunch of other people in this field to say, to get behind Bernie and get against Paul Petit, Pettitt, Durham University Department of Archaeology. So they called him out on this. They called him out publicly. And so does the system work? Yes and no. The journal never made an apology or made a clarification. And these guys, they're going to continue writing more papers. And it's like he says, it doesn't matter where it is. He's not going to cite my stuff. It's his own words, which is complete bogus, because that's a loss of academic integrity. So if people say that this is science, this is the latest and greatest that we've been working on for generations, and if you decide that you're going to not put in relevant information that actually your own work came from, then you're deceiving your university, the academia, receiving the public. Especially, they wonder the problem with this whole thing is not that they wrote a journal article, but the Durham University PR machine sent this thing around the world as a great discovery, and it was shown up at many hundreds of media outlets as they made this major discovery. And that's not what happened. And so they cheated me out of it, but most importantly, my paper out of it, my previous books. What they really did is they cheated indigenous people out of their heritage, people that had this forever. And we have it cited ethnographical evidence in the papers. We have it in current indigenous practice. And that's why I never say that I've made discoveries on this, because I didn't, because I was working on this. I was working the biology side of this, as we talked in the YouTube presentation, and I connected with Native Americans who said, kind of told me their story and their narrative. I put them together, and it was the consilience of two honest people or two honest groups of people that made this possible back in 2004 and not in 2023. Okay, so here's your last test before your last. And you're also open to give comments. So 1, give the guy a break. That's Paul Petit, the archaeologist, Durham University. Or 5, just an ass sometimes. Or 10, irredeemable. Last number for you guys. Darren?
Is he French?
Yes, that does nothing to do with it, though.
10.
No, it's nothing to do with it. The French came on my side. Come on. Vive la France, right?
I say 8, 9 still, yeah. Yeah.
Still 8, 9, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is a great example of how the system doesn't work. How there's no.
He flat out is just saying, fuck you.
That's what he did, yeah.
I mean, how'd you go down from 9?
I didn't go down. I said 8, 9, like 8, 9,
Yeah.
I think I have his, I think I might have found him.
And the only reason why it is because of social media now that it even got any kind of, any kind of virality there, and that you were able to post this thing and get 1,000 or a couple thousand scientists to look at it. So that doesn't mean the system's working. That's just the go around, that's the.
Is it not this Paul Petit?
It's P-E-T-T-I-T-T.
Oh,
no. P-E-T-T-I-T-T.
Okay.
P-E-T-T-I-T-T.
P-E-T-T.
So yeah, that's a good story though. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, imagine how much this is happening in other scientific areas, right? This is just a small example.
I've got friends out there. The reason that I was able to push back on this publicly is that, one, I did good research going back to 2004. And secondly, is that I've been going to all these academic conferences I present my work. People have been seeing it. It's legit. And that people said, this guy's good. This guy's got it right. And that's the guy. You got him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just disappointing that people can't just give people credit. I just don't get it. Why?
Because their ass is out there.
Yeah.
Irredeemable.
Yeah.
Irredeemable. That means like it can never be saved. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You guys like think this guy.
That's why I'm giving him one off the irredeemable thing, because he can be saved. They can all be saved. Maybe he just he has an experience one night out and looking at the stars, and he hears the voice of God, and he's redeemed. In a full moon. Maybe
I'll give him a 9.9.
That's fair. And people out there in podcast land, if you see, I don't say archaeologists or asses or all anthropologists, whatever the story is. I go after the one. With the evidence. That's important. And now everybody has the evidence. And anybody ever says in a podcast or whatever that if archaeologists always just tell the truth, they follow the leads. Well, actually, they did follow the leads, right? That's one of the things people complain about. Archaeologists don't follow the leads. They follow the leads. They just credit it for themselves. And all the usual places, Wikipedia, YouTube, academia.u, all these places. And so I'm not anti anybody, right? I'm paradigm shifter is where we're going to go next. But the point of the matter is that we go after the evidence. And, that's my way of seeing, that's my worldview.
I love it. Thanks, Bernie. That was a good little rundown. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time it comes up in the someone brings up something along these lines, tell the story. Because you guys were part of the story a year ago when I had you had me in front. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna shift gears now. We're gonna go to we are going to change the world.
Jesus. That's like the third person I've heard say that in the last 2 days. It's great.
We're going to shift the paradigm. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint and then you guys can just somehow flip it to a screen share, right? Oh, there we go. We're rocking. Okay. Talk to me, guys. What do you see?
We see
a coyote under Mount Hood.
Yeah, it's a coyote. That's good. That's good. Yeah. And, I appreciate you guys' in-depth knowledge of the region. So this is an important image. This is a Native American story from the Columbia River Basin out by Oregon, where I live. And what you see is a coyote. You see four swallows, and you see spring Chinook salmon. And behind the coyote, you see a woman as in rock in the mountain. She's and behind that you see Mount Hood in the background. The Native Americans in this region had a myth or a sacred narrative, and that sacred narrative, Mount Hood, which is volcanic, battled or had an argument with another mountain, which is Mount Adams, which is also volcanic, over a woman, which is also a mountain, which is Mount St. Helens. And then they throw rocks back and forth, of course, the volcano. They fill up the Columbia River, and Coyote comes to save a day by knocking out the rocks, creating Sligo Falls, and it tells the story of of how the salmon, or when the salmon should come up, which is 4 days after the swallows arrive. And it goes back to what we talked about in the presentation a year ago, and they talked about the paper, is that Native Americans had this way of seeing the world, or their cosmic view, where the animals were like people, and the mountains were sentient spiritual beings. Does that all make sense to you guys?
Yep.
Okay. So let's skip that one. So now we're going to go deep into a cave you guys have been before, but we're going to look at it from a different perspective.
What's it called again?
Monte El
Limestone?
Castillo in Cantabria, Spain, and the mountain is looks like a pyramid. It's limestone, just like the pyramids of Giza, right? Okay, um, north of Spain. On in that cave, there's a panel called the Gallery of Disc, dated to 34,000 years ago. This is the artwork on the cave is 34,000 years ago. 10 meters across, so that's huge, right? That's really big, and it's probably about 7 meters high. Okay? And on that cave, in that panel, there's a teacher and apprentice, and the teacher speaks into the ear of the apprentice. Really cool image. I remember seeing this like in 2014, 15. I was like, oh my God, I know it all now. I've got all the answers to everything, but I did not. Because right after that, I realized, oh my God, there is a golden eagle, fledgling golden eagle, June time period on the shoulder of the teacher. And well, I went on for like 2 years, like, every day I discovered something, and I didn't, because every day there was something new and exciting. And there's also this cosmic man that he holds an egg in his right hand, and his left arm is feathered, and you know that he is a man. He's got a mask, and one side of the mask is beaked, and the other side has his eye. And if you look closely at that mask, you can see the beak, you can see the eye, you can see some teeth below, kind of chin down there, like a pretty cool image, really cool. And they transformed that the teacher, looking one direction, if you rotate him to your left or turn your head to the left, you find that the face of the teacher or head of the teacher is actually a rotated version of the cosmic man. So they are, in fact, the same character. The man has transformed into like an avianoid, a birdman. And that same cosmic man, actually, there's a horse, a speckled mare. And that cosmic man merges with the horse to become like a centaur. He's not riding the horse; he's taking all the spiritual energy of the horse. There's another character who he puts on a mask again, and he's got something in his right hand. If you look at the left hand that hangs behind of this masked man, is in fact the same left hand of the cosmic man who had the feathered hand. So pretty cool stuff. You guys saw this before. We did it like 3 years ago. We need to talk more often. Have a mother Iberian lynx with a under her ruff is a kitten pushing up, and so it's a distinctly Iberian animal. And then at the bottom there's a crab, and the crab is coming out from under a ledge. It kind of looks like, right, kind of mean looking thing. Well, that crab below that ledge actually is identical to an opening in the north end of the Rock of Gibraltar. Now, the Rock of Gibraltar, is like, I don't know, it's probably like 400 miles from the El Castillo cave in the north of Spain. They're on two different ends of Spain. And so it's almost identical. And so one has to wonder if they saw pareidolia in the Rock of Gibraltar that then incited them or got them interested and said, this is a crab. And it's at the seashore, Strait of Gibraltar, Pillars of Hercules, all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't look like the same thing. Damn right it does. And actually, you could actually look closer to the claw, and you can see it as pareidolia under the ledge, kind of under the ledge in the Rock of Gibraltar. See pareidolia looks like the actual claw. And it's not just the outline of the shape in the Rock of Gibraltar. And
could they be carving something in the cave that, like, showing that that's an important part, or they're trying to signify that Rock of Gibraltar there?
Oh yeah, we got a few slides to go there. We're just now starting, but absolutely right. They're saying we got a few steps to go. Okay. Good question. You're on it. There's also the Gallery of Disc. We have this monk seal and kind of lounging monk seal, and we find that on the Rock of Gibraltar we have the same rough outline of that monk seal in the north end of the Rock of Gibraltar. It's not perfect, but remember, this is pareidolia, and that the Rock of Gibraltar at the north end is a huge rock, right? This is huge. So nobody went up there and carved this stuff away. But it's in reverse. It has the seal in reverse of the Rock of Gibraltar. Now, think about this. We're going back 34,000 years, okay? This isn't, time of the ancient Egyptians or the Greeks or anything like that. This is 34,000 years. So 34,000 years ago, cave artists in the north of Spain made art on a panel that is representative of pareidolia that they saw at the Rock of Gibraltar, which is just across from Morocco or northern Africa. We also have the spinning bottlenose dolphin on the Gallery of Disc. And we can find that spin-nosed dolphin, again, in Paradoya, almost the length of the Rock of Gibraltar. And if everybody out there in podcast land, go to the YouTube. You got to see the images. This is like the coolest thing you could ever see. I gave this presentation at a geography conference just a few weeks ago, and people like staring, and the mouths are open, and like, oh my God, because this becomes the earliest map in the world. And its position is really important. We're going to get to that point either. But we can see we see the paradoid, we can see the beak, the mouth, the flipper, the fluke, which is called the tail, right? And the dorsal fin. We find them in the high and low points and straight lines as paradoid in the Rock of Gibraltar. And that image that I just showed to everybody out there in YouTube land, it was drawn from two other images. It's drawn from an actual photograph, and it's drawn from a recent photograph and from a map about 100 years ago. That's some illustration. And so I've pulled them together to make them representative. And there's an interesting point. The south side of the Rock of Gibraltar was a rock that sticks out. It's underwater. Now, 34,000 years ago, that would have been above water because the sea level, the strait level, was about 30 meters shallower. And you guys know all about the Paleolithic in the water being shallower. So it's about 30 meters shallow. So that piece that comes out there would have been above water. In fact, all this stuff would have been above water. It would have been look like the dolphin was flying. That's what it would look like. We also have this therianthrope character, which is the previous man who put on the mask, but this is without him with the mask, and you can see him connected to the dolphin. It becomes a merman. We also see this female character, and she becomes the oldest depicted female in the history of the world as far as we know. And she doesn't look real happy. She looks pregnant. You can see her breasts. It just is what it is. Well, that female character is very closely representative of Paradoya across the Strait of Gibraltar in Morocco at a place called the Jebel Musa. And Musa could mean Moses. It could mean a Muslim prophet. They're not really sure. But the Jebel Musa in Paradoya on the other side of the Strait of Gibraltar looks a lot more like a pregnant woman than it does like a Moses, because Moses could not be fat that way. It's just impossible. And slight differences are the nose and the chin, but there could have been some geological changes in 34,000 years. And we can look from the north at the Rock of Gibraltar directly south, and we can see Jebel Musa in the background. And looking across the Strait of Gibraltar, we're looking at the Pillars of Hercules, which is the Spanish coat of arms, and across where the mighty Hercules is represented by. And then we have this breaching humpback whale we talked about 3 years ago in the program, and we also find this character, the apprentice character, is in the ventral pleats of the whale, which is the forward area. We know that he couldn't travel in the belly of the whale because that would be impossible. Okay. Well, we can find that same humpback whale as Paradoya in the Rock of Gibraltar. And remember, going back in time, we had that outcrop on the southern end of the Rock of Gibraltar, which became the descriptive fluke or tail of the whale, and so that was the definitive characteristic. And we can, for everybody out there in podcast land, go look at YouTube. Here's an image we're looking at now, and I overlay the dolphin and the whale over the Rock of Gibraltar, and everybody can see how they match up to the natural irregularities that is perceived as Paradoya in the Rock of Gibraltar. So this is like the real deal. Okay. And we can look at the ventral pleats. The ventral pleats are like this open area in the Rock of Gibraltar. It's got like look like big lungs in some way. It's kind of cool image. And then we remember the apprentice in the belly of the whale. Well, we can actually see this apprentice character as Paradoya on the Rock of Gibraltar. We can see his nose. We can see one of his eyes. We can see his chin, and it's a round face apprentice. It's in this, and we look above his forehead. We can see this separation. So this was a source for the gallery of this. There's just too many overlapping characters. And then we can find the cosmic band. Now, remember the cosmic band and the teacher, if you turn your head sideways to the left, they're the same thing. Well, they saw the same thing in the Rock of Gibraltar, is the shifting is actually two different Paradoya characters that they saw in the rock. And what's kind of really cool stuff in this is that the head of the eagle is on the shoulder of the teacher, which becomes the beak of the cosmic man. But in the head of this pareidoia eagle goes all the way up to the top of the rock where there's flora, there's plants, and that becomes like the rough or the crest feathers on top of the ego, which is like really cool. And then I show an image. I put all these characters together, and I actually have one more to add to this. I have to put the horse in. I was in a rush to get it for the conference, and put all the characters on one map. You can see how they overlap, and it's like, so this becomes a representation of the oldest map in the world, because the oldest map in the world is the Gallery of Disc, which is built on pareidoia of the Rock of Gibraltar. And we go to, it's another image I've just pulled up, and we go turn the rock, this Gallery of Disc, I've turned it to the straight up sort of thing, so it's 10 meters straight up, and we can see all the characters. We can see the ones to the north, we can see the ones to the south. The woman is further south, and the marine animals are in the middle, and the golden eagle and horse and the Iberian lynx are in the top section. And so we actually have an actual representative map. Yeah. And well, that character is in fact Hercules. The cosmic man becomes Hercules, and he's huge, and all the animals fall within his form. So he's animist. And we can go to the night sky, and we talked about this one 3 years ago, is we can actually track all these people and these animals. So we can see the characters are the cosmic man is Hercules, the eagle is Aquila, the horse is Pegasus, the seal is Cetus, and the dolphin and whale are Pisces, going in two different directions. So when he's traveling south, he's following Pisces. When he comes back north again, he follows the whale, they're both the same constellation in two different directions. And so that's like really cool. So now we have an origin to Greek constellations that go way, way back in time before anybody could possibly imagine. And Hercules, the character, is also represented in other places in Morocco. And people like in our part of the world generally don't know that. But there's the cave of Hercules, where Hercules rested before he traveled down to the Garden of Hesperides. And it's on the Atlantic coast of Morocco. And Moroccans all know this stuff, by the way. And this is the thing. And then we can go back to, we see our teacher and apprentice. He's telling the story, and show again the overlapping of all these characters, or the animal and human characters on the Rock of Gibraltar. By the way, if you guys, when I update this image with the horse, and you guys want to I'll send her a poster, you can put it in your background. And then I show off give my background, my links, beforeryan.com, all that sort of stuff, and these guys can tell you where to go. So let's talk. What you guys have seen something that Graham saw it a few days ago, but give me feelings. Talk to me.
Well, I feel like it's important in regards to Atlantis, because the pillars are prevalent in all kinds of myths and
there we go.
Plato's Atlantis. I mean, that's where they say that, that's where what Randall actually thinks, that close to that place, just through the mid-Atlantic there is where Atlantis was. So
are you guys open for me to show you a slide that I've never showed on any other podcast?
Oh yeah.
That speaks to your question? Yeah. Okay. So you can't tell anybody about it, right? Okay. Actually, I gave this at a prehistory conference 2 years ago, and I had it translated into French, Spanish, Darija, which is the Arabic language of Morocco, as well as Tifinagh. Okay, sorry about that. I gotta do it. Okay, so I'm gonna put the video, and I'm gonna put, because we are all English speakers here. It's on my webpage. It is called it's get the English version. It's Sacred Mountains in the Upper Paleolithic, and I gave it at the USIPP, which is it's like the big deal in prehistory archaeology. And they had no freaking idea. I did this. So talk to me, guys. What do you see?
Did you hear that weird anomaly too, Graham?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so can you see my?
We can't see your screen just yet.
Okay, so I need to do something. So I need to go back to share screen, and shoot. So I need to get out of.
Do you want me to remove the one that's there? It says when I hover over, it says remove.
So pull up the one that you see Himalayas, right? You see a picture of the Himalayas. Can you see that? Mount Everest, Himalayas.
Not on. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, got it. So now I'm going to zip through this presentation, and since we were just talking about the gallery of discs, let's go back to the gallery of discs. And on the gallery of discs, we saw this map going north or south. But what we didn't talk about was the animals on the top of the panel, because this is actually more than one image. On the top of the panel, we can see a lion, we can see bears, we can see Barbary ape, and we see elephant. And those animals are all pareidolia in a place called Jebel-Tobakal. Does anybody want to take a guess what Jebel-Tobakal was named to ancient Greeks?
Jebel
You know this. What?
I don't know.
Atlas. This is Mount Atlas. This is known, and Herodotus had called this out years ago. And if we remember in the story of the myth of Hercules goes to Mount Atlas, and he to steal the apples. But before Hercules gets there, Perseus is there, and Perseus brings the head of Medusa, and he petrifies the Titan Atlas in the mountain. Okay, so this concept of petrification or pareidolia in the mountain was described by the ancient Greeks. Okay, so as a concept. Well, there's a concept, right? They saw the pareidolia in these different places, certainly the Rock of Gibraltar. They saw it in Jebel-Tobakal, which then became Mount Atlas in ancient times, and this became like their cosmos, because everything was below in the caves. On the terrestrial plane is both the animals and the pareidolia in the rocks, and in the night sky as the constellations. And these are all constellations. Of course, the lion is Leo, bear is Ursa Major, the Barbary ape is Gemini, there's also the two eyes of Castor and Pollux, and the elephant is actually Taurus. So they saw Taurus as an elephant. Remember the story? So what went in Plato, in Plato's Atlantis? What was the animal that was there? Guys, you know this.
I don't know this. Darren,
elephant.
do you know?
It was elephant. They saw elephants on the island.
I was going to say a minotaur.
There were elephants in the island. So, and not the Edward Casey version, but in the Plato's version, that there were elephants on this island that fell into the sea. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, so we can see this image, right? We got this image in our heads, and what I need to do is I'm going to pull up the gallery of discs if I can. Okay. Oh, here we go. We're going to dream big on this one, right? Okay. So we got the gallery of discs, and I need to open up. I need to go to you guys. There we go. Okay. Now we're sitting pretty. So if you guys can kind of see to the viewers far right, you can see the teacher with the beak. Oops. Let me mix that one up. So the viewers far right, you can see the teacher with the beaked animal on his head, right? Beaked bird on his bird, and he speaks to the apprentice. And you see the dolphin here, and upside down is here's the pregnant woman's breast, and here's her head, right? Okay. So all this stuff here down was on the Rock of Gibraltar. Everything from here up is Jebel-Tobakal. So they've laid one image over the other, and this is probably the dividing line right down here in the center. Okay, so if we have described this as the north of the Strait of Gibraltar, or in the Iberian Peninsula, and we have described this as Morocco, okay, and we describe these marine animals here as the Strait of Gibraltar, because ultimately the whale and the dolphin aren't living in the Rock of Gibraltar; they're actually in the water, right? Okay. Then what the heck is all this stuff here? Well, that's what we just saw in that image. We can see the head of the lion. We can see the Barbary ape's head here. We can see the bears here. And we can see once you see the elephant, it's so cool, right? It's the ear of the elephant, the forehead, the eye, the trunk comes out like this, okay? So if you were in ancient times and you had seen this gallery of discs, you would have said, well, of course. Well, I know that's the rock of Gibraltar. I know there's all these animals here, and I know that the whales and the dolphins swim between the pillars of Hercules, and therefore there is some major landmass that is here that is it's not there anymore. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that major landmass is actually Jebel Tobakal, that is Mount Atlas. Okay. So what happened is that the Plato story is he's sort of right that it's across from the Pillars of Hercules, but he's actually sort of wrong because it's not an island off the Pillars of Hercules. Rather, it is Jebel Tobakal, now Mount Atlas, in Morocco. By the way, Jebel Tobakal is the highest mountain in Morocco. We're taking a trip there in the fall of next year to climb the next highest mountain next to it so that we can see the face of Jebel Tobakal with all these pareidolia characters, or as Perseus petrified in the rock.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're so the concept is that the Pillars of Hercules, with in fact Hercules, goes back to 34,000 years ago. Jebel Tobakal, Mount Atlas, was recognized 34,000 years ago as well. And that people misinterpreted this image as a island across the Pillars of Hercules that is no longer there. But in fact, it is Jebel Tobakal. Now, Herodotus, there were people before Plato that talks about this. One of them was Herodotus, and he talks about in the histories that the people in that area call themselves the Atlantes. Sounds like Atlantis, right? I'm not saying there wasn't Atlantis. What I'm saying is that there were people there, indigenous people that had nothing to do with the island that disappeared, that lived around in and around Mount Atlas, and they revered the mountain as a god. Before Herodotus, there was the Phoenician Sanchionato, who wrote that a Phoenician had traveled from wherever to Jebel Tobakal, or then Mount Atlas, and to find or discover astronomy. Right? It's like the Paul Petit thing, right? The guy didn't discover anything. The Phoenician didn't discover anything either, because this goes back to 34,000 years ago, because we can see the astronomy there. And that Phoenician then he lived on the mountain for the rest of his days, and they called him Orion. Orion in Greek means man in the mountain. Okay, so when people say that there's a narrative out there that pre-Egypt there was a civilization that people were highly intelligent, that people understood the stars, and you're darn right they could, because they were these people who made the gallery of discs, and then they put it on the walls of the caves. And if I look at these imagery, not just this one but the others, and I have another from another cave that has the same storyline. This is amazing. It's absolutely freaking phenomenal. But even if they did find the pareidolia animals and they moved into the cave and all this sort of stuff they built from there, but it's astonishing, absolutely astonishing. But here's the point: were these people so advanced because they had astronomy, because they could map, and that their map was in the pareidolia of the land as well as the animals and then the night sky? No, they weren't, because Native Americans have these same traditions. And you guys know this. You guys know. Remember the movie with Close Encounters of the Third Kind or Fourth Kind?
I don't think I've seen that. Oh, I seen the Fourth Kind one was in Alaska.
Okay, yeah, Fourth Kind,
right?
like a Ford movie or something. Yeah, we'd want to go there. Okay, but anyway, so they had all the main characters have this dream. The dream brings them being drawn to Devil's Tower in the Black Hills, and I can't remember which state. I think it's Wyoming, but they're drawn to the Black Hills, and they meet. Of course, they go up to ultimately go to the top of the Devil's Tower to meet the aliens, and then they're transported. Well, Devil's Tower was revered among the Lakota Sioux still today as called Bear's Lodge, and Bear's Lodge is a kind of a cylinder shape. Looks like cylinder shape, and they considered that to be the constellation Gemini, which is similar cylinder shape. And what they would do is, through the springtime, they would travel around the Black Hills, and each of the mountains or geological formations was a different constellation. And when they got to Bear's Lodge, Devil's Tower, constellation Gemini, they would then have their Sundance ceremony, which was their communicating with the great beyond. It was their connection to the great mystery, the great almighty, as we would say today. This is the genius of these cave artists was also apparent in the genius of the Lakota Sioux and other Native Americans who had the same tradition. They had the same tradition because the Gallery of Dis is 34,000 years ago, and people had migrated over those many thousands of years, lived in Beringia, came across and landed some 20,000 years in what we call North America. The tradition is from a much earlier time. The tradition wasn't 10, 11, 12,000 years ago, all that sort of stuff. This goes back so far in time that this was the knowledge. And when Christianity, the Romans, Christianity, all the other conquerors came through, and this wasn't their stick. They took the constellations. The Greeks have the same constellations that we just discussed. They took the constellations, but they ditched the symbology, and they made it their own, put into their own minds that they projected as their own heroes and their own mountains and so forth. So there's threads that they lost, and the thread that they lost, one was that Jebel-Tobakal is Atlantis, okay, but it's not Atlantis because it's Jebel-Tobakal, and that there was no island off the Pillars of Hercules. It was just two images on top of each other, which in itself is actually brilliant if you know how it works. And so, in a nutshell, we have discussed the story of Plato's spectacular program. Okay, you guys got questions? So I blew through that.
Oh, Dan's muted.
That's crazy. I mean, I can see the elephant. I can see. I never really looked at it before as being 3-dimensional like that.
Yeah. Didn't I send you one? I sent you the poster, right?
Yeah, I have it still down in the basement. Yeah, but I've never looked at it as being 3D like that.
Yeah, there are multiple images. We got to pull it up and put it in the studio. And every time someone says Atlantis, you guys point over there and you say, "That's the mountain. That's Jebel-Tobakal, Mount Atlas. That's the north to south mountains on the Strait of Gibraltar, actually, which is the Jebel Musa and the Rock of Gibraltar." And it's cool map making. You got to admit to that, right?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
It's not it's cool, but it's not exactly accurate map mapping unless you're in the mind of the animist who sees this way. Who just like the Lakota Sioux who travel around the Black Hills, and they ultimately their ascension point, their Sundance ceremony was at Devil's Tower, for them Bear Lodge, in the same place that Steven Spielberg has his people experience the close encounters of the third kind. It's part of who we are. We can't escape this stuff.
No, I think it's important to realize that animism played such a role and maybe have some more reverence for it. Like, I think we've lost that. And I think it's important part to try and bring back.
2021, I gave this at the USIPP, which is the biggest academic prehistory conference in the world. And it was just so happened that year was in Morocco. And the Moroccans loved it.
That's great. Yeah, good job.
So the story gets even deeper, like a lot deeper. We're 34,000 years ago. Now, about 8 or 9 years ago, there was a discovery, and that the first Homo sapiens the earliest Homo sapiens, going back to 300,000 years ago, were dug out of a cave called Jebel Irhoud in Morocco. Okay, and so the whole human history timeline just changed, because before it was in southeast Africa, but it's 80,000 years earlier in Morocco. So why couldn't those people in Morocco 300,000 years ago have been the same people that made this Gallery of Dis, ultimately made the Gallery of Dis 34,000 years ago? Because they had Jebel-Tobakal and the pareidolia of the animals represented, because they didn't make it. It was there. Remember, Perseus petrified the Atlas and the animals. So they had this 200,000, 250,000 years before we find the first art, is these people were living in the same place and they had the same imagery. And so why would they be living on a mountain? Well, climate is you've had a lot of people on talking about climate change and over the tens of thousands of years. Well, you can go up and down the slopes of the mountain depending on the climate, and Jebel Tobakal is glacier, and so there's always water coming down, and it feeds the lower streams and the grass. So you could have complete desert in that part of Sahara, but Jebel Tobakal has water.
Yeah.
And also, the Barber ape that I showed earlier is indigenous to the Atlas Mountains. And if you want to go see him, you would go to Jebel Tobacco. So that's why you would live in the mountain. That's why mountains were so important. But this is probably what happened. Okay, so the Phoenicians had the story. They had the whole thing. Okay, they passed it on to the Egyptians. The Egyptians had pieces of the story. They knew what this image looked like, but they didn't know that it was a split image, the mountain and the north to south view from the Rock of Gibraltar to Jebel Musa. They passed it on to two people that we know about. One person is Plato, and Plato comes back with his narrative of Beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The other person they passed to is a Greek called Eudoxus, a name you probably never heard. Eudoxus is the one who brought all this astronomy into the Greek record. He wasn't an astronomer. He wasn't a philosopher. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't, whatever Plato was. So he was a scientist, and he brought all this material into the Greek record that we have until today. But Eudoxus never saw. So they both, by the way, Eudoxus and Plato both went to the Egyptian priests and they learned. But what Eudoxus had the night sky, but he didn't have the geographic map. Plato was told or seen something of this geographic map, but he misinterpreted the Strait of Gibraltar and the island beyond the Strait of Gibraltar. What he thought was an island, was actually Jebel Tobakal and Mount Atlas, which we can actually show graphically through these images. And so then from there you go forward. You got people have pieces of stories, and then eventually you've got a lot of books and videos made about something that was true, but it wasn't the truth that we had ultimately learned until this presentation was the first time I've ever done it this way for the guys at Grimerica.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, you've promised me up beyond every 3 or 4 months. Darren's going to send me the backstrap of his next elk. I think that's a good deal. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds good.
It is. They get real sooky at the border about that kind of stuff.
Do they? You since Soul Cycling across the border, we'll pack it, real cold. It'll be good. You can't send me any guns or
meet you at the crossing, and we'll throw it over the fence.
We'll throw it a fence. Yeah. Can you guys now pull me down from my screen?
We've got it. We've got it off. So now it's just us again on here. Yeah.
Okay. So how do I need to get out of this. I want to see you guys again.
Oh yeah, no, we can see you, so I'm not sure why you can't see us.
Okay, because I'm still looking at. I still got my.
Oh, weird.
Presentation going.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, what I don't want to do is hit an exit, because then we'll just lose the whole.
Yeah.
The whole.
But we got to wrap it up here, anyways. We got a show in a couple minutes here, so thanks
cool
for coming
stuff.
on again, Bernie? Yeah.
We'll do it again. Everybody out there in podcast land.
Yeah.
Forerunning.com. Go take a look.
Yeah, thanks.
Do it again, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Come back soon.
Be up there for some backstrap.
Have a good one, Bernie.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
And that was a chat with Bernie Taylor coming back to Grimerica again.
Well, that flew by. Holy.
It did. Yeah, time on.
Oh, my God.
So this is a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
I've looked at it layered like that, which was kind of neat. So encourage you guys to look up a YouTube video for that one. We've got a couple videos with Bernie, of course. Big thanks to Bernie for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you're choosing to support us over at Grimerica.ca/support. We can't do this without you guys. We need you. We need you now more than ever. Head over there today. Sign up. Grimerica.ca/support. You can do a monthly, one-time donation. Whatever's easier. Other than that, get on some trips. Contact at thecabin.com. Get some audiobooks over at adultbrain.ca. Everything else we do is over at Grimerica.ca. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
Teach me all your secrets to get a good handle on a better way to live. How does one get out of bed every day in the throes of the apocalypse? Should I bury my head in the sand or sabotage their evil plan? I feel really trapped, an ant burned by a magnifying glass. It's all a little bit too convenient, all the evidence went up in flames. Phonies, fraudsters, scammers belong in the slammer, my friend, best give up their names. Should I call on militiamen or pass out a petition pen? I feel really trapped, an ant burned by a magnifying glass. I don't know what y'all been told, but I got a soul made out of gold. Sound off, 1, 2, sound off, 3, 4, cadence count, 1, 2. A big ball! Some time ago a crazy dream came to me. I dreamt I was walking into World War III. As prophetic as humidity, as aching bones, as frantic animals. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now she floats it down a river dark. As prophetic as deja vu, as wormwood, as falling stars above. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now she floats it down a river dark. I can't even hear my own thoughts for the life of me over the din of a bruised and broken culture. The media spins and splatters and spins and clatters, and I cringe because it's psychological warfare. Don't you feel yourself getting really mad? How did we let it get this bad? Don't you feel really trapped, like a brain in a vat? Trying really hard to close Pandora's box, but sirens are singing me off a cliff. I'm looking to hitchhike to Shangri-La over yonder. Sophia, would you give me a lift? Hopped out of the Hegelian rebellion. Say goodbye to all you Machiavellians. Let evil destroy itself. I'm bound for Shangri-La. Shangri-La. I'll let you be in my dream if I could be in yours. I'll let you be in my dream if I could be in yours. As prophetic as morning doves, as groundhogs, as fallen stars above. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now we're floating it down a river dark. As prophetic as white wolves, as butterflies, as rainbows. Sophia sings it now. We built a plane, now we're taking flight above a river bright. la Shangri-La.